I, 28F, just destroyed my relationship with my sister over what everyone thinks is the stupidest reason imaginable. Our entire family is calling me petty and jealous, but they don't know the real story behind why my sister chose her dog over any human being to stand beside her on the most important day of her life. What I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about this situation. My sister Maya, 30F, has always been obsessed with her golden retriever Charlie. She got him right after her first engagement fell apart 3 years ago. And since then, Charlie has basically become her entire world. She calls him her soulmate, takes him everywhere, and spends more money on his grooming and organic food than most people spend on rent. I thought it was just a phase to help her heal from the breakup. When Maya got engaged to her current fiancé Derek, 32M, 8 months ago, I was thrilled for her. Derek seemed perfect, kind, patient, successful, and he genuinely loved Maya despite what I thought were her quirky dog obsessions. He even proposed at the dog park where Maya and Charlie spend every morning, which I thought was sweet and thoughtful of him to include Charlie in their special moment. But there were signs that something was wrong with Maya's relationship with reality that I should have noticed earlier. She had started talking about Charlie like he was a person, asking for his opinion on wedding decisions and claiming she could understand his barks and body language like a complex language. She would cancel plans with family and friends if Charlie seemed upset or needed her attention. The first red flag should have been when Maya announced that Charlie would be walking her down the aisle instead of our father. Dad was hurt but tried to be understanding, saying that if it made Maya happy, he would support her decision. Maya explained that Charlie had been with her through her darkest times and deserved to give her away to Derek. It seemed unusual but harmless enough. Then Maya dropped the bombshell that made me realize how serious her delusions had become. She called me 3 months ago, excited and breathless, to tell me that she had asked Charlie to be her best man, instead of having a maid of honor. She said that Charlie had accepted the role by wagging his tail, and that she was planning to have a special tuxedo made for him to wear during the ceremony. I was confused and asked Maya why she wasn't having human wedding party members like most people do. That's when she said something that chilled me to the bone. Charlie is more loyal and trustworthy than any human I know. He's never lied to me, never betrayed me, and he'll never leave me like everyone else has. The bitterness in her voice when she said, "everyone else," made me realize that Maya's attachment to Charlie wasn't healthy. It was a symptom of deeper trauma. But here's what I didn't know at the time, and what nobody in my family knew. Maya had been seeing a therapist for severe trust issues and attachment disorders stemming from childhood trauma that none of us had recognized. I found this out later when Derek confided in me about his concerns. Maya had apparently been abandoned by several important people in her life, starting with our babysitter when she was 5, then a teacher she loved in elementary school, and later her first fiancé. The therapist had diagnosed Maya with something called human attachment avoidance disorder, where she had become so afraid of being hurt by people that she had transferred all her emotional needs onto Charlie. The dog represented safety and unconditional love without the risk of human betrayal. What looked like quirky pet love was actually a serious mental health condition that was getting worse, not better. When Maya asked me to be her maid of honor, I was honored but confused about the logistics. How exactly was I supposed to fulfill traditional maid of honor duties when the best man was a dog? Maya excitedly explained that Charlie would carry the rings in a special pouch, would give a speech through a recording she had made of his barks, and would even sign the marriage certificate with a paw print. I tried to be supportive, but the more Maya explained her plans, the more concerned I became. She had spent $3,000 on a custom tuxedo for Charlie, hired a professional dog trainer to teach him wedding-specific tricks, and even planned a bachelor party for him at an expensive dog spa. Meanwhile, she seemed to have no interest in traditional human elements of the wedding like bonding with her bridesmaids or celebrating with friends. The breaking point came when Maya showed me the seating chart. She had placed Charlie at the head table between herself and Derek, which meant I would be sitting at a separate table with the other bridesmaids. When I asked about this, Maya said that Charlie needed to be close to her at all times and that as her best man, he deserved the place of honor. She seemed genuinely confused about why I would be upset about being displaced by a dog. That's when I made the mistake that everyone is now using against me. I told Maya that I thought her relationship with Charlie had become unhealthy, and that making him the center of her wedding was embarrassing for the family. I said that people would think she was having a mental breakdown and that Derek deserved a real wedding with human participants, not a circus act with a performing dog. Maya's reaction was immediate and explosive. She started crying and screaming that I was just like everyone else who had abandoned her when she needed support. She said that Charlie was the only person who had ever loved her unconditionally, and that if I couldn't accept that, then I didn't deserve to be part of her wedding at all. She fired me as her maid of honor on the spot and told me not to come to the wedding unless I could apologize to both her and Charlie. But here's what I learned after that fight that made me realize how badly I had misunderstood the situation. Derek called me the next day, desperate and scared. He told me that Maya's obsession with Charlie had been escalating for months, and that she had been refusing to get help despite his pleas. She had been sleeping in the guest room with Charlie instead of sharing a bed with Derek, and she had started talking about having Charlie officiate their wedding instead of a human minister. Derek also revealed something that shocked me. Maya had been secretly planning to legally change her last name to Charlie's last name, which she had made up as Goldenheart. She wanted to be Maya Goldenheart after the wedding, claiming that Charlie was more family to her than our human family had ever been. Derek was terrified that he was marrying someone who was losing touch with reality. The situation got worse when I tried to involve our parents. When Mom and Dad attempted to have a gentle conversation with Maya about getting professional help, she accused them of trying to destroy her happiness, just like they had failed to protect her from childhood trauma. She brought up things that had happened 15 years ago, blaming our parents for not noticing when she was being bullied at school or when she was struggling with depression as a teenager. Maya's accusations were partially true, which made them especially painful. Our parents had been dealing with their own marital problems during Maya's teenage years, and had missed a lot of signs that she was struggling. They had always assumed Maya was just shy and preferred animals to people, not realizing that her withdrawal from human relationships was a cry for help that had gone unanswered for years. But here's the most disturbing part. I discovered that Maya had been lying to Derek about getting therapy. She had been going to appointments, but instead of working on her attachment issues, she had been seeing a therapist who specialized in animal-human spiritual connections. This therapist had been encouraging Maya's belief that her bond with Charlie was more pure and meaningful than human relationships. The fake therapist had even given Maya official-looking documents declaring that Charlie was her emotional support animal and spiritual life partner. Maya had been using these documents to justify increasingly bizarre behavior, like insisting that Charlie be allowed in restaurants and demanding that hotels treat him as a human guest. Derek had been going along with it because he thought it was legitimate therapy. When I found out about the fake therapy situation, I knew I had to do something drastic. I contacted the state licensing board and discovered that the therapist Maya was seeing wasn't licensed, and was actually running a scam targeting vulnerable people with pet obsessions. This person had been taking Maya's money, while making her mental health worse by encouraging her delusions. I gathered all this evidence and decided to do an intervention with Maya, bringing our parents, Derek, and a real therapist who specialized in attachment disorders. But when we confronted Maya with the truth about her fake therapist and tried to get her help, she completely shut down. She locked herself in her apartment with Charlie and refused to come out or answer calls for 3 days. During those 3 days, Maya posted a series of increasingly erratic videos on social media showing her wedding planning with Charlie. In the videos, she would ask Charlie questions and interpret his movements as detailed responses. She showed Charlie choosing flowers by sniffing different bouquets, and she filmed herself having full conversations with him about guest lists and menu selections. The videos went viral, but not in a good way. People were sharing them as examples of mental illness or attention-seeking behavior. Maya was being mocked and ridiculed online, with thousands of comments calling her crazy and making jokes about women who prefer dogs to men. The cruelty of the internet response was devastating to watch, even though I was angry with Maya for putting herself in that position. Derek finally broke his silence and called off the wedding. He posted a statement on social media explaining that he loved Maya, but couldn't marry someone who refused to get help for serious mental health issues. He said that Maya's relationship with Charlie had become so consuming that there was no room for a human marriage, and that he felt like he was competing with a dog for his fiancée's attention and affection. Maya's response to the broken engagement was to blame me entirely. She posted a long rant on social media claiming that I had been jealous of her happiness, and had deliberately sabotaged her wedding, because I couldn't stand to see her love for Charlie. She said I had poisoned Derek and our parents against her, and that she was cutting contact with all of us to protect herself and Charlie from further harm. But here's what made the situation even more tragic. After Derek left, Maya's behavior with Charlie became even more extreme. She started dressing him in human clothes every day, setting places for him at the dinner table, and talking to him constantly as if he were responding with complex thoughts. She began referring to herself and Charlie as married, and posting photos of them with captions about their honeymoon trips and anniversary celebrations. Our parents were devastated and scared. They tried to get Maya involuntarily committed for psychiatric evaluation, but the legal threshold for that is very high. Maya was still functional enough to work and take care of herself and Charlie, so doctors couldn't prove that she was a danger to herself or others. She was just living in a fantasy world that happened to involve a dog instead of drugs or alcohol. The story took another dark turn when I discovered that Maya had been spending her entire savings on Charlie-related expenses. She had bought him a $10,000 custom playhouse for the backyard, hired a professional photographer for monthly photo shoots, and even started a college fund for Charlie, in case he wants to go to obedience school later. She was financially ruining herself to maintain the illusion that Charlie was her human life partner. When I tried to intervene by contacting Maya's bank about potential financial elder abuse, even though Maya wasn't elderly, the same laws apply to mental incapacity, Maya found out and threatened to get a restraining order against me. She claimed I was harassing her and trying to steal Charlie away from her. The threat was legally baseless, but it showed how far Maya had retreated from reality. Here's what I learned that made me realize how deep this problem really went. Maya had been secretly researching whether it was legal to marry a dog in any jurisdiction. She had contacted lawyers in several states asking about interspecies marriage rights, and had even looked into moving to countries with different marriage laws. The lawyers she contacted were concerned enough to report these inquiries to local mental health authorities. Maya had also been planning to legally adopt Charlie as her son, so that he could inherit her estate if she died. She wanted to set up trust funds and legal protections for Charlie, as if he were a human child. When the lawyer she consulted explained that dogs can't legally inherit money or property, Maya accused him of discrimination and stormed out of the meeting. The final straw came when Maya started planning a commitment ceremony for herself and Charlie, since she couldn't have a legal marriage. She sent invitations to our entire extended family, asking them to celebrate her spiritual union with Charlie. The invitation included a registry asking for gifts like matching outfits, couples spa treatments, and a honeymoon fund for Maya and Charlie to travel together. Most of our family members were horrified and confused by the invitation. Some thought it was an elaborate joke. Others were genuinely concerned about Maya's mental state. A few relatives called me asking if Maya had suffered a head injury or started using drugs, because they couldn't understand how else to explain her behavior. When I saw the invitation, I realized that Maya had moved completely beyond reality into a world where her relationship with Charlie was indistinguishable from a human romantic partnership. She wasn't just using Charlie as emotional support anymore. She genuinely believed they were soulmates destined to spend their lives together as equals. That's when I made the decision that my entire family now thinks makes me the villain. I decided to stop enabling Maya's delusions by pretending they were harmless or normal. I refused to attend her commitment ceremony, and I convinced our parents and most of our relatives to boycott it as well. I told everyone that attending would be supporting Maya's mental illness, instead of encouraging her to get help. The boycott worked in terms of attendance. Only 3 people showed up to Maya's commitment ceremony, and 2 of them were neighbors who thought it was a regular dog birthday party. But the emotional impact on Maya was devastating. She posted pictures of herself and Charlie at an empty venue, with decorations and a cake but no guests to witness their special day. Maya's social media posts after the failed ceremony were heartbreaking. She talked about how her human family had abandoned her just like everyone else in her life, and how Charlie was the only one who truly loved her. She said she was done trying to maintain relationships with people who couldn't accept her happiness, and that she and Charlie were moving away to start fresh somewhere else. But here's what happened next that made me question whether I had done the right thing. Maya did move away, but not to start fresh. She moved in with a community of people who shared her beliefs about animal-human spiritual partnerships. This wasn't a healthy therapeutic community. It was a group that encouraged and normalized delusions about romantic relationships with pets. Derek contacted me 6 months after Maya moved, worried about what he had learned about her new living situation. The community Maya had joined was actually a cult-like group that preyed on people with mental health issues and pet obsessions. They charged members huge fees for spiritual counseling and encouraged them to cut ties with family members who didn't support their lifestyle choices. Maya had been giving this group most of her remaining money and had essentially become isolated from all normal human contact except for other cult members who shared her delusions. Derek was worried that Maya was being financially and emotionally exploited, but she had blocked all of us on social media and changed her phone number, so there was no way to reach her. The situation became even more serious when I learned that the cult Maya had joined had a history of animal abuse disguised as spiritual bonding exercises. Several former members had reported that pets in the community were being mistreated, and that members were encouraged to see their animals as romantic partners rather than creatures that needed proper veterinary care and boundaries. I was terrified that Charlie was being harmed, but I also realized that my boycott of Maya's commitment ceremony might have pushed her toward this dangerous group. If our family had attended her ceremony and maintained contact with her, maybe we could have provided enough support to prevent her from joining the cult. Maybe my attempt to force Maya to face reality had actually driven her further from it. The guilt was eating me alive, especially when I thought about Charlie. He was an innocent animal who had become the focus of Maya's mental illness, and now he might be suffering because of my decision to draw a hard line instead of staying engaged with Maya's delusions. I started wondering if I should have just been the maid of honor and let Maya have her dog best man, if it meant keeping her safe from predators. But then I remembered something Derek had told me during the worst of Maya's wedding planning. Maya had been talking about having children with Charlie through artificial insemination, using Charlie's sperm and her own eggs. She wanted to create hybrid babies that would be part human and part dog, and she had been researching fertility clinics that might help with this impossible and disturbing plan. That memory reminded me that Maya's condition had been escalating regardless of how our family responded. The dog wedding wasn't just a quirky choice. It was a symptom of a serious mental illness that was getting worse over time. Whether we enabled it or opposed it, Maya was going to continue deteriorating without proper medical intervention. The latest development in this nightmare came last month when police contacted our family. Maya had been arrested for attempting to fraudulently obtain a marriage license for herself and Charlie using fake documents. She had tried to claim that Charlie was a legally recognized service animal with human rights, and that discrimination laws required the state to allow their marriage. The arrest was a wake-up call that forced Maya into the legal system, where she finally got proper psychiatric evaluation. She was diagnosed with severe attachment disorder, delusional thinking, and symptoms of a dissociative disorder that had been developing for years. The court ordered mandatory therapy as part of her sentence, and Charlie was temporarily placed in professional care while Maya received treatment. For the first time in over a year, Maya is getting real help from licensed mental health professionals. The treatment is intensive and difficult, but Derek says that Maya has started having moments of clarity where she recognizes that her relationship with Charlie had become unhealthy. She's still not ready to admit that planning to marry a dog was a sign of illness, but it's a start. Charlie is doing well in professional care, and will be returned to Maya once she completes treatment and demonstrates that she can maintain appropriate boundaries with him. The veterinarians caring for Charlie found evidence that he had been overstimulated and stressed by Maya's intense attention, but he wasn't physically harmed. He's actually seeming happier and more relaxed in a normal dog environment. Our family is slowly rebuilding our relationship with Maya through supervised therapy sessions. We're learning about the childhood trauma and attachment issues that led to her condition, and we're working on how to support her recovery without enabling her delusions. It's hard work, but Maya is starting to trust humans again, which is a crucial step in her healing. Looking back on this whole situation, I still don't know if I made the right choices. Maybe if I had agreed to be Maya's maid of honor and gone along with the dog best man, I could have stayed close enough to get her help before things got so bad. Maybe my refusal to participate pushed her toward the dangerous cult that made everything worse. But I also think about what would have happened if everyone had just enabled Maya's delusions indefinitely. Would she have eventually tried to consummate a marriage with Charlie? Would she have attempted the hybrid baby plan? Would she have completely lost touch with reality without the intervention that ultimately came through the legal system? So Reddit, AITA for refusing to be my sister's maid of honor because she chose her dog as the best man? Was I right to draw a line against what I saw as unhealthy behavior? Or should I have prioritized staying connected to Maya even if it meant participating in her delusions? Did my boycott help force Maya to get the treatment she needed? Or did it push her toward a dangerous cult that could have destroyed her life? I miss the sister I used to have before Charlie became the center of her world. I hope that with proper treatment, Maya can learn to love Charlie appropriately as a pet, while also rebuilding healthy relationships with humans. But I'll always wonder if the choices I made helped or hurt her journey toward recovery. Maya's therapist contacted our family today. Maya has asked to see Charlie for the first time since her arrest, which the treatment team thinks is a positive sign that she's ready to start rebuilding a healthy relationship with him. I'm cautiously hopeful, but also terrified about what will happen if she relapses. I just learned that the fake therapist who was treating Maya has been arrested for fraud and is facing charges in multiple states. Apparently, dozens of people with pet obsessions were being exploited by this person. Maya might be able to recover some of the money she lost, which could help pay for her real treatment. Maya completed her court-ordered therapy and has been reunited with Charlie under supervision. She's living in a transitional housing program and working with trauma specialists to address her attachment issues. For the first time in years, she's been able to have normal conversations with our family without mentioning Charlie every 5 minutes. She's even started dating a human man, though very slowly and with lots of therapeutic support. I think we're going to be okay.